Welcome back to another episode of The Different Perspective. As always, my name is Kevin DeLory, Chief Lending Officer with EPM, joined by my good friend Scott Rutkay, President of Concourse Land Transfer. You know,
Thanks
it's
a lot, Kevin.
yeah, funny. Last week was a good time. It was good to talk about somebody, to talk with somebody, sorry, that kind of has the same leadership qualities. And we talk about last week why we should do business with you, but it's more about who you are as a person, what you believe as far as leadership. And anyone that tunes in is, one, they get to know who we are. Number two, why they should do business with you. But really the reason is because who you are, and it's your leadership style. And just before the show, we're talking about accountability. When people give you a task, and you say, I will deliver on the deadlines, are meant to be met, not to be broken, right? And I think that's all about accountability. It's saying, hey, you gave me this task, you trusted me to do this task. Now I need to deliver. So I hold myself accountable, and I would hope the person asking me does the same thing.
Sure.
So, in your leadership style, how important is accountability?
Yeah, the one thing that I think the people do very easily is say the buck stops here, right? As a leader, it's easy to say that you're accountable. But it's actually being accountable that's the important part, right? Saying it doesn't really get the job done. It's actually doing what you say you're going to do. I have I've been very lucky in life to work with a lot of friends. And so I will go even further for a friend, perhaps, than I would a normal client. I got to be thoughtful about that, right? Because I want to be just as accountable for my friends as I do for anybody I work with. That's the standard I hold myself to. That's the standard I hold my team to. And I know you do too.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's one thing to say, yes, the buck stops with me. But do you really, as leaders, sometimes I see people that love to say that. I take the blame, but that should only happen once if you're truly being accountable, because you
Right.
recognize, hey, in this case, I wasn't accountable. I said all the right things. I took the blame for the mistake. So what do you change? What do you do differently? Well, the next time around, whoever I assign that task to, I'm going to make sure, not micromanage them, but I'm going to check in, with them daily, weekly, and say, how are we making out? Because at the end of the day, I told you, Scott, I told anyone else in the organization that I will deliver on this date. And I got to make sure I'm able to do that. And I think sometimes as leaders, what you just said, I see a lot of young leaders do. They say, I am accountable. They love the phrase, but when push comes to shove, they don't. If you're truly accountable, what you say is, I didn't hit the deadline. It's on me.
I think we hit on this last week. We're not selling sweaters, right? This is what we're doing is we're dealing with somebody's home. And if I wasn't as thoughtful about my actions as I should be, then somebody might not be moving into a new home. Somebody might be, have all of their possessions in a moving truck, sitting in a driveway, waiting for me to do something. And if I'm sitting in my office and I don't care about it, and I let things slide and I let things go, and I take the easy way out, and I don't care, I leave at 5 o'clock and I turn out the lights. They're still sitting in their driveway wondering if they're gonna have Christmas, this year. And
Sorry to interrupt, but that leads to something that's really important too, and it goes hand in hand with accountability. Next topic is really about communication. That's listening. So a lot of times we think we know what we're being accountable for or to, but we don't really understand the ask of the other person. So if you ask me to do something and you're not making sure that it's, I fully understand what your expectations are, does the accountability really rest with me? Yeah, sure. Because one, I said, I agree and I can deliver without truly understanding and asking enough questions.
right.
But you, as the person asking for me to do that task, did you make sure that I understood everything you were saying?
Sure. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of these transactions, people don't give you all the information that you need. And you really have to ask that second question. Hey, you told me you need it by Tuesday. I don't think I can do it by Tuesday. What happens if it's Wednesday? And if the answer is, the guy's getting shipped off, then Tuesday's the day. We have to, try to move heaven and earth to get to that finish line as best we can. That's the expectation that's set. You've told me what the expectation is. The minute I say, Kevin, I can do it for you, you're gone out of the transaction. I've said I'm taking care of that for you. I better be damn sure that I'm not lying to you. Now, things happen, something comes out of, nowhere and I have new information. That's delivering the information fast to you. Hey, Kevin, remember when I told you it'd be Tuesday? You didn't tell me that the kitchen was missing. Oh, I didn't know. The kitchen's missing? Yes. Now it's going to be next Wednesday. Oh, okay. And if I got to Tuesday and didn't give you that information, we just stopped, you'd call me up and say, hey, Scott, you told me Tuesday. What happened? Well, I found out yesterday something went wrong. Well, why didn't you tell me yesterday? Now it's today. And, it's being precise. That's super important, but also delivering that information back to your partners as fast as you can in any walk of life, any business you're in, delivering the information back to the partners as fast as you can is paramount. Has to be.
You're spot on. It's spot on. It really is. I think that, that it's always good to say, do you understand? Am I clear what I'm asking for? Why? Because it takes away any doubt. The minute that doubt creeps into something, it becomes something small, gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Before you know it, everything's clouded. Nobody knows truly what the expectations were. So to make sure, they always say the responsibility to make sure the other person understands is on the speaker. I need to make sure that when I leave the room and I shake your hand, Scott, you and I are on the same page. I think leaders sometimes we're in a rush. I mean, just to get here, I was a minute late, right? I'm trying to finish up everything, and sometimes I rush. And it's funny just having this conversation. I don't know if I made myself clear in my last call, so I will call back after this. Mental note for myself to say, hey, look, do you understand what I'm expecting the results to be here? I can't determine what they'll be, but I have a good idea. And if we're not trying to achieve those results, then I wasn't clear of what I wanted you to do. So I think, the effective communication is the key. And it's always the key to the leader to make sure that those people you're speaking to understand exactly what you expect of them.
And then also understanding as a leader, I have a lot of experience. You have a lot of experience. That's why we do what we do. There are many techniques that other people have that you and I have never seen, never heard of, that we can learn from the people that we're leading just as much as they can learn from us. Because the way that I do things might not be great for 2023. There could be a piece of it that could be, there might be some technology that I don't know about. There might be some workflow that I don't understand. Or they might have found something in their other job that they used to have that they can bring to this position and make it even better. And you have to be able to grow, and say, look, I have great ideas. I know how to run a business, but boy, I could do it a lot better if I had smart people around me giving me advice as I go along. I think that's important for a leader to not only be able to lead the people, but to understand that they have opinions as well, not a dictatorship, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you always have to keep learning. Just because you're the leader doesn't mean you got there because you knew everything. A lot of times it's because you trusted the right people and surrounded yourself with the right people and gave them enough to help you level up. To this day, I learn something every time I pick up a book, or maybe it's just something reminding me of something I learned a long time ago that I could now use, especially in the industry where technology is involved. They say technology now is changing every 18 months. I mean, if you're not on top of that stuff, it's going to pass you by. I'll share a quick funny story with you. The other day, I bought a book just because I don't know anything about AI or chat GG. I can never even say chat GBT, whatever the hell it is. I just don't have time for it.
Right.
But I'm hearing everyone talk about it. So I bought a book and I'm reading it. And the other day I used it for the first time and I felt like I am so behind the times. This thing has changed twice already. And here I am. I'm just figuring out how to use it. And I was amazed by what it could do. But just because, think outside of the world that you live. You don't just say, how do I learn more in title? How do I learn more in mortgages? How do I learn more in all these different facets that affect a home buying experience? I want to learn more about everything and that just be a sponge because I never know if I could take something from technology to make my business better. So don't sit in your corner office looking out the window saying, I know everything. I got enough to get by, because when you do, you get passed by. If you think you're up there and you know everything, you're going to get passed by. And when it happens, it's going to be too late to catch up. So if you're the leader that thinks they know everything, I could tell you, you're going to get passed by. I'll see you in 6 months on my way to the top, and you'll still be sitting there. And actually, just the opposite will happen. You'll be sinking down. It's like a weight. Not keeping up on things or not learning more is like putting, weights around your ankles.
Yeah, nobody's going to tell you to do it too. You don't have anyone other than the voice in your head that drives you to make those decisions. Look, I talk to a lot of people all day long, and you can just tell what their level of engagement is. How interested are they in knowing about new products, new things that are happening in the industry? AI might not have anything to do with your job for 2-3 years, or it might be tomorrow. So best you understand everything that's out there. Find out about new products, find out about new techniques, find out about new technologies, because somebody else will. The guy across the street from me is running a better business than me. I'm sure of it. I see it. I look out the window. He's printing money. I got to figure out what he's doing, and I have to figure out how to do it better, because he's not. There's nobody driving me. I don't have somebody above me saying, "Hey, Scott, did you read another book this week?" You have to do that on your own. It's a lot of personal growth. And you take everything you learn and you sort of apply it where you can.
That is, to the point, so perfectly said, Scott. It's funny. Anytime I read a book, I read, I just read Ray Dalio's Principles, and out of that book, I got 3 more books to read. So it's my desire to learn more. My drive is what matters to my people. They don't want a guy that just comes in and sits in the corner every day and sits in that office, and I've earned my right if I wanted to do that. But how fast will they lose trust in me and move past me or move somewhere else? So if you're not driven to continue to get better every day, then your people, one, will see that. They'll lose interest in you, or the competition's going to pass you by. I get here. I don't have to be here at 6:30. The start time is 8:30. I get here because it's my time to just get ready for the day and be ready for my team when they come in, to be able to answer any question they have, be able to help them whatever they need. I've already done most of my work by 9:30 that most people do in an 8-hour day. So to your point, it's that drive to be an innovator, to be different, to stay on top of your stuff. That matters.
I mean, I don't think anyone has ever asked, or said to you, "Hey, Kevin, you know too much about mortgages." Right. I'm not going to ask you that question. You have too much. You have too much education. You have too much knowledge. Part of being a leader is being a repository of all of this information. My team members ask me questions all day long about all kinds of things, work related and otherwise. Just being a well-rounded individual. Forget about work. You're with your friends. They're asking you a question. It's most interesting to me to sort of talk to people that fake it, right? Where you ask them a question, they blurt out an answer, and they really don't have anything behind it. It was either something, they saw quickly on TV or don't know anything about or have an idea about. But to actually go out and educate yourself about any subject, to really sort of grow that way, it always helps. And you never know where. It might help you in this business, might help you outside talking to your daughter.
It happens a lot where I'll hear a conversation. To your point, I could fake it and get engaged in the conversation, but I leave those conversations more saying, geez, I need to know more about that. Let me read up on that. Let me, do some research. Let me figure out what that is all about. Just like I just said about the Chat GPT, I think it is. I want to learn more. Do I need that? No, but I heard people talking about it. I'm like, oh, that sounds like an interesting concept. Sounds like a conversation. I can't add a thing to it. And I love the fact that when you, to your point, not faking it, when you're truly engaged in a conversation, that interaction, I learn more from fellow leaders that have never been into my business or know nothing about my business. And, just the simple thing, right? By sitting with them, I learn to, it's funny on the bottom of the screen. It's like, I learn how to turn those problems into opportunities, because I really always see a problem as an opportunity. Because if there's something I don't know the answer to, or I'm perplexed about, I'm sitting there trying to think it through, that's an opportunity, one, for me to get better, for me to be better for my clients, to be better for the people that trust in me every day. So sometimes people see the problem as a, I keep using the same cliche over and over, as a, brick wall rather than a speed bump. To me, it's a speed bump. It's an opportunity to propel myself ahead, to get better, to continue to grow, and continue to be a better person, better leader, and more knowledgeable. Who doesn't like having a conversation with somebody that's very engaging and you're able to learn something from?
Right. And the people who aren't immediately, you can sort of suss that out pretty quickly, sort of the people just say yes to everything, or they don't have an opinion, or I'm not interested in that, so I don't talk about it. It's just as important to have a well-rounded experience as it is to know everything there is to know about your industry. Because You're going to be able to bring so many different experiences into any conversation that you're having. Listen, the other question I was going to ask you, aside from, do you know too much about mortgages, is do you surround yourself with stupid people or smart people? I mean, I want to be around people that I can engage with. And if I'm having a conversation with them, they're not, pulling out a dictionary, pulling out a thesaurus, making sure that my graphs are right. You sort of, want to work with competent people. And, you're not born knowing this stuff. You learn by learning, right? Your experience, a lot of it is what you learn, what you read, what you absorb, and then being able to use that information. That's the real trick. Is the learning is only half the job. The other half is the applying. You learned all this stuff. What can you do with it? What can I show you that I can do with all the information that I have, all the experience that I have?
Yeah,
and that's what separates. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, having a conversation with positional leaders in our business, title, mortgages, is very boring, right? But when you have a conversation with a true leader, somebody that's doing all of these things we're talking about, educating themselves, pushing themselves forward, trusting in people trusting in them, and just being real. Those are the conversations I want to have. Those are the times that people come over to me. I tell you, I don't do business in where I live. A lot of our clients are outside of Rhode Island. Rhode Island's very small, obviously, but because I don't want to be out to dinner and talk about work. I want to talk about things that intrigue me, things that interest me, make me more well-rounded. So I think, to your point of just keeping getting better and better, right? And it is more engaging because listen, I want to do business with you because we have great conversation.
Right.
It has nothing to do with, can you match somebody else's price and title? Price
Well,
is
to your point, no one's ever asked me the question, "Hey, Scott, do you know how to title insurance?" Right? The idea, like the conversation is the conversation that we're having today, is being able to make the sausage is sort of the least of it. That's understood. You wouldn't have a business card that says a title company on it if you didn't know how to work in a title company. You want to work with people that you want to work with who are aligned with your values. I work with you guys because I'm aligned with your value. I believe that you want my success as much as I want your success. That's important because not every business relationship works like that. I have plenty of clients who don't give a damn what I do. Just give me, they're just looking for me to produce something for them, which is fine. We can do that too. But that's not a meaningful relationship. That's a transaction. And I don't want to do a transaction. I'm lucky enough that, the transactions don't matter. It's the relationship that matters. And that isn't something that I just say. That's something that I have to live because it's identified by the people that I say it to very quickly if I wasn't that engaged. They know if you're fake. They know if you're lying. They know if you're just giving them a line. That game show host guy that that calls you up every once in a while. "Hey, Kevin, I got a new product for you, and I got to talk to you about this." And you're like, "Hey, what's going on with your life?" "Oh, I'll tell you about that in a minute, but I got this thing that you got to buy." That has never been something that was successful for me. I see through it immediately. I think it's, I don't go for that type of sales. And based on, every interaction with you, that's not you either.
Yeah, listen, I think any young person listening that wants to be a leader or even in the business, Scott just said something there that is the most important thing. Stop looking at this as a transactional based business and about a relationship based. When you look at it the transactions will come, and I'm looking at this on the bottom of the screen is surrounding yourself with the right people does get the job done faster. Why? Because you can trust them. You count on them delivering. You already know the answers 90% of the time, before you ask them because they're cut from the same cloth. You surround yourself with good people and they know you're willing to put the time and effort in. They know at the end, those are the people at the end. If they trust in you as the leader, they'll raise their hand and say, "I could really use your help right now because I know you told me I needed it done by the 4th. Today's the 2nd. I need your help." And that's what makes it different, right? So I am gotten to where I've gotten to today, not because of Kevin DeLory, it's because of people I surround myself with.
Sure.
The retention rate is so high, not because of I pay them the best, not because I, sit and say good morning with them, go out for drinks on Friday, whatever these little quirks that we do, the perks that we give them that are different. No, it's because I'm real and I care about them. And because I put the people over the profits. If you put the people first, the profits will come. If you put the people first, you'll deliver unbelievable results, extraordinary results when you put the people first. When you put the profits first, the people will go look for someplace where they come first. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be treated like we're number one. And if we start treating people like they take a back seat to profits, they'll go find somebody or some company where they'll be number one. So if you're a leader and you're saying, well, I can't make money if I do this to the people, I can tell you this, I would invest more in my people than any dollar I've ever had. These people would do anything for me because I could fall tomorrow. These people would be the same ones to lift me up to take me right back to the top.
Yeah, and there's a certain amount of trust that goes with team members, right? I mean, I have to, in my business, I have millions of dollars going in and out of the business every day that aren't my funds. They're other people's funds, be it a lender, be it borrowers' funds. And they trust me with all that money. I have to trust that my team members will ask the question. And basically that's what I'm asking for. It's something they see something that they don't understand. Asking the question, hey, Scott, I've not seen this before. What would you do in this situation? And I either have an answer or I know where to find one, right? They trust that I know how to solve it. I have to trust that they know how to ask the question. And sometimes it could just be that, that's sort of the base level of engagement that I would want from a team member, along with everything else, the growth, the education, the caring, but it's literally just asking the next question. Hey, Scott, I just wired funds, should I have done this? No, you shouldn't have. Let's try to fix it. And had I not known, a lot of these problems are expensive, on my side, your side. If someone had just early on in the process asked that next question, who knows what could have happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's to your point. You got to trust the people around you, and trust will always win. Yeah. Trust will trump anything else. If I trust somebody, I know they have my best interest at heart. I know they care, and they will come to me and they will ask me questions, and they believe in me because we have this trust. The minute you don't have trust with someone that works for you, you're in trouble. And I've kind of changed my theory on this after having been on someone else's podcast, and they challenged me on my opinion of trust. I always say I give everyone 100% trust. It's up to them to lose. Sometimes people make mistakes. I always say it's okay to make mistakes, but if we're all being honest, sometimes when someone makes a mistake and you look at it like, I would have never made that mistake but that's because you have 30 years experience doing it and they only have 5. So you have to understand that things like that will happen. And the minute that that shouldn't make you lose your trust. Sometimes it does, but then they'll do something magnificent. It's okay to give it back. Right. My theory was always you get it until you lose it and then you're on empty. Right. And you can't do that. So trust always wins. And it's something that I've gotten better at is trusting the people around me. And I want that in return. People that I do business with, like you, I want your trust. If you don't trust me, then we shouldn't be doing business. If I don't trust you, we won't be doing business. It's a two-way street, but when you operate from that premise of trust always wins and trust the people around me until they prove themselves not to be trustworthy, you will find yourself far more successful than doubting and wondering, should I trust him? What's in it for him? Right. Is he out to try to take my business? What's he trying to learn from me? Is he trying to be my job? I want the people behind me to want my job. Yep. Why? Because if I keep doing everything we talked about today, then I take the next step in my career, whether that's, CEO, owner of my own company, whatever it is, I propel ahead, So if you don't have somebody that's hot in your heels as a leader, or you look at them as a threat, you're looking at it the wrong way. They're pushing you to be better.
And then the other thing to sort of, put a cap on that piece is that, you can't have someone around that you don't trust. So that's something that you really have to be thoughtful about. And, how long do you let that go? If someone betrays your trust, you really have to be thoughtful about whether or not they should be in the organization or not. And that's sort of the tough part, right? I had an employee a number of years ago in a different entity. I didn't feel good about. I couldn't put my finger on it. I just, things didn't seem right. Wasn't really adding up. Questions were sort of answered in a weird way. The work product that was coming out just wasn't 100% right. You feel it. As a leader, you sort of feel it, right? You feel it in your bones. Something's wrong. And then you have a conversation. You try to figure it out. If that's not satisfactory, you have to cut that out immediately. You just can't have people around you that you don't trust. It's one thing if they're clients. That's one problem that I'm trying to fight against people playing hide the ball with me all day long. But if it's someone that close to you and they betray that, you really have to be, think about whether or not you need them in your life.
And as a leader, if you're the one that made that choice to bring the person in, that's a tough one. And it's because you don't ever want to doubt yourself. But I'll
Right.
tell you what, when you start learning that it's okay to make mistakes, what we just talked about, and that's really where my trust um, concept has changed personally, and my belief in trust is if it's okay for me to admit I made a mistake. Sometimes people are not going to trust me as much because I made that mistake, and it's up to me to show them that that's only going to happen once. The old saying, fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me. That's you got to be able to hang up your ego, and say I made a mistake and I need to move on, because if I continue to operate from with a person that no one trusts, I lose credibility.
Right.
So if someone in this company, no, and even more so in this office, if someone doesn't trust them, and I look around and I let it continue to happen, and their actions prove they're not trustworthy, I need to own it.
Right.
It's on me. And that's one of the things that I find for young people coming up. It's always better. And it's funny. I think I may have shared this with you. When you have siblings, why is it easier to lie if you're an only child than if it is when you have siblings?
Oh, that's
Because
interesting. We did
because
not.
because you always have somebody that's going to tell on you, right?
Right.
Because you always said, I can go out tomorrow. I could have went and at 10 years old and said to my mother, I just jumped a ramp and jumped over 4 bikes. Well, my brother was there saying, no, he didn't.
Right.
He
Right.
jumped over a G.I. Joe doll. What's he talking about? Right? Like, but so you couldn't do that because you always had someone that would correct you.
Right.
And now if you go the other way and you're only child, who corrects you? Nobody. So sometimes, it's a bad thing, but it's okay to make mistakes and okay to tell the truth, because we are all human. We all make mistakes. It's how you own it. When you sit there and say, it's not me, it's this person, it's that person, let me find out, let me do this, let me do that, and you don't own it, what happens? You lose credibility, you lose trust.
Right.
When you make a mistake, if you said, Kevin, I thought you wanted it by Tuesday, again, we go back to communication. I didn't make it clear. I got to own that. And you're going to own and say, hey, I probably should ask another question. That's what regains trust. So making a mistake's fine. It's when you don't own it's where you lose the trust. When you own it, people have more respect for you. So that's something I've tried to do my whole, since I was 42, is change really in my life. And that is owning, my issues, owning my mistakes, because I've gotten better by it.
Sure. I mean, listen, I tell people all the time, I make mistakes. And when I make a mistake, it's a big one. Right. And the good news is that I have the experience to, fix most of them very quickly, as not everybody has that experience. And, it's understanding that that's the only way that I learn is by doing. Again, not born knowing this stuff. So a lot of these problems are unique to each property that we see. And, while I can apply something that I've already known in the way that I think it should be applied, it's not always right in this particular case. And then I learn next time when I see something like this, wait, I had that problem a month ago. I know how to deal with it now. Had I not sort of disseminated that information, had I just kept that to myself, then I'd be the only person who know how to do it. If I don't tell my team, hey guys, I ran into this, you should be looking for it also, or identify that you didn't see this, I see it, let's look for it next time. It's going to happen over and over and over and over and over again. It's our job to make sure that we fix those issues, once, right? We don't go back to things that we already know how to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I ran into an issue this week. We help desk tickets pile up. And I said, well, how do we cut through the issue? Why are we not sharing the mistakes we're making so we can learn from them? But you got to own it, right? So I own that. I think if my team keeps asking me the same thing over and over, I got to own it, and we address it, we move on, we fix it. If not, it just becomes maddening and nothing gets done. That's just, it's like the emperor who wears no clothes. You got to know what's going on. But the thing I love about this show to everyone, it's, it is different than the whole perspective, hence the name, the different perspective. It's two guys. We have a lot in common. Scott's in title. I'm in, mortgages, and we have, obviously we interact a lot throughout the day, but it's about leadership. And it is a different perspective because we're not bringing in a celebrity, somebody that wrote a book and that's going to teach us. And it's great. I always learn something, but I probably learn just as much as from these conversations as I do with that. Right. So it's great just to bounce ideas and let people listen to, hopefully they're saying, shoot, I do that. I shouldn't do that again. I should try what Scott just said. I should try to own it. I should try to own my mistakes. Oh, I should do what Kevin said. I should keep reading. I should keep learning and, elevating myself. So that's what's great about this show. And you have two great leaders, one with Scott Rutkay at Concourse Land Transfer, and Kevin DeLory. I mean, it sounds weird that I'm calling myself a great leader, but okay, I'll go with it. So
Great leader, Kevin DeLory. I'll say it.
oh, thanks, buddy. And listen, I think as always, if you ever want to learn more, if you ever want to reach out and do business with us, you can always reach Scott at srutkay@concourseLT.com. My email's simple. It's kevin@epm.net. We're here to help you guys. Hopefully, we can help you grow your business. If you're in the mortgage industry, you got two partners here that could not only just help you in your business. We don't look at, Scott said it before, as a transactional based business. We look at this as a relationship based business. I mean, we have some of people in our company, our president, CEO, that does one-on-ones with people outside of our organization. We're willing to do the same. If you want to learn more from us, if you're out there, even in a different industry, reach out to us. We'll answer any question you have. But as always, if you want a great partner and title, it's Concourse Land Transfer. I appreciate you as always, Scott. Always great conversations. Thanks again, buddy.
Thanks, Kevin. We'll talk soon.